Omera, before I begin, I'd like to ask, what's in your cup? Is it provocation or is it peace? I'm the Kikombe, your second favorite storyteller, and today I serve you a story that stirred in the silence of Pan-Africanism and brewed in the hot soup of hope for its people. Buckle up. I'm going to tell you a story about someone we all adore. And I request that if you know who we're talking about, then let others think for themselves. Don't mess it for them. So in the comments, show me that you know this person without naming them. Sawa. What happens when a child is born too bright for the lamp of the world that raised him? It was December of 1949, the same year that my father was born. In this land, in December, it's dusty, it's hot, and it's if you're not from there, it's very uncomfortable. And the land is called Yako. And word spread like wildfire across the dusty villages that a baby had been born, and it was Christmas season. And in French, their culture, if babies are born around this season, they're generally referred to as Noël or Noëlla if it's a girl. And being a boy, they named him Noël, of course. Noël with those two dots on top of letter E. Noël. And Noël was the third born of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids. He was the third born of 10 children. And it is said that when Noël was born, the African midwives stared at him and they noticed something different about this kid. We'll come to realize later what this special thing was. But the midwives, they believed that Noël was born with his own star. And his father was a man of uniform. He was a soldier. His boots were always polished and his orders were super sharp. And his mother, her name was Kinda. By the way, Kinda in Luo means hard work. So Kinda was graceful and tough. You know, that African mom who's capable of raising more than 3 kids. Yeah? This mother will most likely single-handedly slaughter a goat and singing ah pata pata ah pata pata. It is said that the child, Noël, this third born, he had eyes that didn't blink, even when you put flashlights on him, sharp eyes. It's also said that when he cried, the child silenced roosters. For those of you who are wondering what roosters are, we call them cocks. So by his second birthday, he'd already said no to breast milk. Yes. By the way, growing up younger, there were some of us kids who were breastfed until primary school standard 2 or standard 3, 8 to 9 year olds. I'm not kidding. I remember growing up, we would visit the village, right? And in the village, sometimes there would be that little kid playing, running, probably 7 years old, on his bike, playing football, running naked in the yard, chasing cows and chicken, climbing trees, making bows and arrows, and maybe playing football as a goalkeeper, scoring goals, being a coach. And then the moms would always be doing whichever activities they were engrossed in. And this kid would get hungry, stop whatever he was doing, and he would sprint straight for the mother's breast. And he would drink standing up for a couple of minutes, just like this. Sometimes he would even be saddling on his bike. And then after all that, they wander off. Mom puts the breast away, does the laundry, and goes on. Yeah, back to the story. So Noël he came off the breast a bit younger than everybody else. And it's obvious that Noël was not like other boys in Yako. By the way, Yako in Swahili means yours. Yeah. So there's a certain level of poetry in so many of our African names. Now, at the age when he said no to breast milk in Noël, there's a country called Kenya where there was the Mau Mau rebellion. Now, this was a fierce battle, uprising that, and people were fighting against British colonial rule in Kenya. The British had taken their land, and then these people were forced to work hard labor, and they were doing this under the whip in farms whose crops they knew nothing about. So thousands were detained. Some of them were put in concentration camps. People were tortured and killed by the British. And then independence was gained in 1963. However, there had to be a however here, Omera. However, though the British flag was lowered, much of the colonial power structure remained the same. Land remained in the hands of the few people. The elite inherited tools that made them the new oppressors. So the elite were the new Mkoloni, and freedom became a song that was just that, a song. So in short, Kenyans got what they thought they fought for, but not necessarily in the form that they imagined. But this is not about Kenya, Omera. Let's go back. This is not about Ruto and Kenyatta. This is about Noël from Yako. Now, where were we? We were in ADHD is in full force here, bro. It was at the age of 7 that Noël, while attending Sunday school, Noël asked the Sunday school teacher, excuse me, teacher, did Jesus pay taxes? Of course he did. Did he? Oh, yeah, of course he did. There was that, I think there was one bit where Jesus was with his disciples and they were approached by these tax collectors. And Jesus asked one of his disciples, I think it was Peter, to go and fish and then grab a coin from the fish's mouth and then use that coin to pay tax. Ndio. Yeah, Jesus. Lakini Jesus pia alikuwa na zake. Anyway, back to Noël. Where did we stop? ADHD. At 7. Yes, at 7, he was asking for tax. And then at 8 years old, he was banned from the mission library because he was hiding the Communist Manifesto inside the Bible. This kid was already trouble, eh? And stories say that by 10 years old, in his school exercise book, he'd started questioning colonial history in the textbooks. So he would write on the margin questions like, and who wrote this? Eh? So you can see that this kid was a thinker. Eh? Even his friends grew curious about him. Omera, you can see there are children born of the village, and then there are children born with a village inside them. Noël had the village inside him. And he would come to change the name of his village from that was given by his colonizer and changed it to that name which truly represented his African origin. Upright. Kama kuna hint ndio hiyo. So years later, as if destiny was beckoning him, Noël joined the military. He found himself in Malagasy. And it was there on one night that a fire struck inside him and he had a dream. And in a dream, an old woman gave him a cracked pot or calabash. And inside it was fire and it was wrapped in banana leaves. And the woman said, carry this back home. And when you do, your tongue will be the role model of brevity, and your ideas will be as sharp as the sword that will liberate Africa. So a year later, he went back home. And people said he changed. I think there's something about being in the military that shapes humans differently. I'm yet to meet anybody who's been in the military and returned the same way they left. It is also said that when Noël was called to the table, he refused to eat with his people. He said, my villagers don't have enough to eat, so why should I chew more than they do? And often he'd be seen speaking with villagers at the local market. And the local market became something more home than home. I don't know if it makes sense. Because in Africa, the market is a home for everybody. There's something for everyone in an African market. So by the time Noël was in his 30s, whispers followed him like drumbeats. He was known as the soldier who reads. Some called him the captain who rides the bicycle. And in all these praises, of course, there were some bigger challenges, of course. Because he spoke the truth for the people. He sided with the people. And therefore, as is expected, some people tried to silence him. Some promoted him, then demoted him. He even went to jail. And by the way, the same year he went to jail, he told the French ambassador that, he said that Africans do not need charity. They just want their stolen wealth brought back. So who was this guy? He was born Noël, but became something else. He was that African dream that dared to walk in daylight. And you remember at what age he started asking these questions, questioning history, saying, who wrote this? Who wrote this history? Yeah? Yeah, super young. And I think that a child who questions the path will one day clear the forest for the people to pass. So do you know Noël? By now you know the hints. And I request that if you know Noël, don't spoil it for others. Let others think for themselves. Go in the comments, show me that you know Noël without telling me the name of Noël. Show, not tell. I am the Kikombe, your second favorite storyteller, and the story is served.